Alright, greetings and welcome back. So, ultimately, right, this is going to be a workshop session, right? So, right now, this form is up and running, right? I can add files, right? I got my material chips working, right? There's an option in here, right? You can add on like that, make the life easy for the end user, right? So, I got all these features, right? It collects in the form, and I go ahead and hit submit. Then this values look at my value, right? Then I get all these values, right? So with that, it's time to have this stuff sent over to the backend. So that's what I'll be working on right now. All right. So what I want to go ahead and do, look at my Python, right? So I believe this is based on events.py. So here, I have my little email template, right? Kind of letting them know what's going on, ticket purchase, and then I add additional data along with it. Right. So what I want to go ahead and do now is that I kind of want to use the same amount of logic, right, in my collegiate events, right? So I'm going to make a whole nother route, make it known as collegiate event. So let's go ahead and do that now. Right, that's the translations I was working on. So I'm going to apps, 0, backend, flask, dev. I'm just going to be working in here, right? This is all that. This is what the application is. Right, I'll go ahead and make gite.py, right? So that's empty, and then definitely, what I want to start doing, right? So that's not a unit test. That's actually going to leisure.py. Definitely, I want to make this in the form after events because ultimately, what's going to happen is that I'm going to start to start to work on the some generation schematics for Python, but that's fine. Events, place collegiate, right? And then for all of them, that's all I'm gonna go ahead and do. So then, meanwhile, if I want to take a look, make sure my backend API is still running. So from from collegiate import my collegiate and then app.register. Right, thanks GitHub Copilot. Right, GitHub Copilot is running even though it claims the activation failed. So I really appreciate that. Something's running. All right, so basically, like the goal is I want to send all this information in the email template, right? So I'm going to send over an email template for now, right, to get this deployed over to production. But later, right, what I would like is um, I think later what I really would like is for the trying to think is for this to get all this data to get sent in the database for proper organization because most of this stuff goes into NFTs, right? So especially our images, right? So we take a look here, the team logo. Basically, what's going to happen is we're going to upload an image, right? We're going to upload the image that we're working on. This is shared, right? One of these images, right? And that type of stuff, right? Shouldn't go in the email for easy access, right? Should just go in the database, right? But for now, we're going to work on it. And then also we're going to see with the SendGrid how we could also implement email API. We could implement attachment, file attachment so we get things sent. And then ultimately, one of the things, there's a lot of constraints missing, right? I really haven't focused on the validation. I said validation required, but people could upload files at any size, right? We want validation checks to guard against that, right? People could type in text of any size. We want to make sure that the text is not too long, right? That's how regular is expected, but well, they can go down there. Want to see something real quick. It stopped working. I think the size keeps it's like stays the same. Right, definitely some issues with the current logic that's going on here, but I'll figure it out. All right, so with that, I want to change it from ticket purchase, collegiate, sponsorship application. Right, I want to collect this. I want to collect this information email. So get events. I don't need that. So purchase ticket. So I believe this is the method that I need. Right. And then looks like I'm using this. So this function right here, generate Twilio SendGrid email request body, right? I'm going to use that here as well. So instead of to repeat myself, I want to put this function in my util. I have to import it, and now to make sure that this functionality is still working. Right. So let's go ahead and do that like so, and then I think my unit tests are going to start failing. Right. They already were failing, but let's go ahead, throw it in the dev editions, and then I kind of want to take this out of here. I don't want to use, I want to use this endpoint like that. Use function. Right, so it's saying all these are so thanks for helping me out. Update target. See, this is getting used. 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. Right, I don't think this is being used. But I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful now. I want to make sure that exports right because Python really doesn't tell you, right? So we'll make sure, right? I really would want you to test, right? Now I want to remove this because now I'm just running it as a script, right? This is not going to be a part of the API anymore. So printf dev generate random, turn click, right? So turn click the object and then def generate Twilio SendGrid, right? So even though I removed the method, right, I kind of don't get an error, right? I get a warning, but I really don't get an error. Right? So I kind of don't like how these imports don't figure out these, um, figure out what it needs to figure out properly, right? So there's that. All right, so now that's being used. So now basically I want to go ahead and just grab and just take the method as it is. It's a very large method. Obviously, I want to break it up into smaller parts one day. Have someone else refactor that. So I want to take events, and then I want to say collegiate. So my collegiate, right? That's the route. So collegiate. So basically, this is going to be submit. Accelerator request. So this is the endpoint, and definitely you want to make definitely when you're naming things, you want to name things as long as you can, right? Like properties, right? So objects you want to try to keep them short, given the name convention. But properties and functions, right? This is going to be a function you want to name as long as you can, because you never know, right? You never know if you're going to have similar functionality that does a simpler meaning, right? That has completely different functionality, right? So definitely want a good practice. All right, so basically I receive all that data, right? So I want to just go to the point, right, with this open because this is for a customer, right? Customer rec body, even though it's not immediately obvious. right? So all this, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and remove. It's not defined. It's claiming it's not defined. I think it's pretty much defined. Okay, right. It's defined there. Right, I think I defined it before, but defined it again. Right. So maybe one day I'll need that SQL Alchemy connection. All right. So what I want to go ahead and do now is I want to try to look. Want to kind of try to look at this definition. Right. Right, that sounds good. So if I kind of walk through this, right, I grab my data, right, so my data now needs to be in a certain format, um, right, because I need to send over. I also need to send over the image data and file data, right, as attachments, right. I want to work on that later, right. So also there's configs involved, right. So service account email. Ah, I kind of hate when VS Code doesn't. I mean, you definitely have to be careful with key bindings. So I'm looking at my configs and at DLS. So I just make it so top level. All right, so oh, it looks like I repeat myself here. So to that append. Yeah, it looks like I repeat myself here, right? So this is like a good catch. All right, kind of remove my own code. Was dev. That I definitely want to do that event prep, but right, not right now. I'm really not trying to cause functionality break. Need to get this properly tested. Felt like I've done enough refactoring. Right, so there's that, right? So basically, if I'm in production, I'm not in the dev environment, then I want to go make sure Sean gets a copy of this email as well. So my from email, right, it's coming from the developer as well, two emails. Huh. So is this not even getting used? I'm wildly confused. How this is all coming together. It's like this is not even being used here. Huh. Just maybe. We just go ahead and get rid of this. Maybe this was old code and then I refactored it. Right, so if I look at my util, right, it looks like I'm taking care of something here. Looks like I'm taking care of it in this logic. So, right, and then there's like personalizations. Right, so confirmation ID. Alright, so it looks like I have a confirmation ID, but I think I want to go ahead and send this back to. So I think confirmation ID, I also want to go ahead and prefix this. right? And there's that. Okay, so basically there's my data that I want to go ahead and dump, right? So that there's basically my data I want to go ahead and dump, and I want to have that sent over. But really, I want to be careful here, right? Because in later I'm going to send over file data, right? So this route is up and so this route is up and functional, right? But later we're going to try to process file data, right? So I've definitely worked with this for now. So let me kind of move this over to the side. All right, close this out, and now collision side up. So basically, when I hit the submit button, right, what I'm ultimately expecting is for validation checks to appear, right, and this form getting sent over to the backend. So what I want to do, so definitely don't like starting from scratch. I definitely like to implement conformity, and one of the best ways to implement the principle of conformity is that we go ahead and look what we have here before, right? So ultimately, this is a large function. Let's see how big it is. 137 to 185, 50 lines, huge function. But since we have to, since it's go time, we definitely just want to see, right? So basically, no wallet. We're not really looking for um, we're not really checking against no wallet. So basically we want to go ahead and check out if this form group is valid. That's the first thing we want to go check. Right. So let's close things out here. Let's close them up, silence them up, close them up. Backdrop. Did I even use this? Yeah, I'm not to. I'm gonna get rid of this because this won't allow me to see the types. Definitely want to lessen the amount of lines in the JavaScript. All right, that's good. All right, so now I want to add my notify service here. So now what I want to go ahead and do. All right, so this should take care of that. All right, so now let's try this functionality here. Please fill out all required fields, right? So now this is like a general piece of information, right? So now because we saw that same value on our event, on filling out event form, so form fill out. So let's say fill out form. Right, great. What type of intelligence was going on there? Let's say global. Right, so there now. Therefore, I don't have to repeat myself. That make my I18N engine do more work. Right, and now one of the things I like to do with these forms, I like to set up automation, right? So I don't have to keep up things, right? So I go to my automate service, and now what I like to do, right, to group all my logic together is event service, events name. I like to go to collegiate, right? So you have the conformity principle, sign up name, right? So as I see it as the name of the component, as I name it here. So I think what I would like, I think it's fill out form. So I'd say submit, and then I go out, say timer. Hi, my snippets coming along here. Right, now I want to go find the actual sign up button itself. Right, I want to get its JSON path. I want to copy its Java path, JS path, not necessarily JSON. Let's submit button equal. Right, and I kind of like to get rid of all this extra code. Click, like so. And now I say ng after this automate service, which adds some intelligence to import my services. Right, and then I think I almost forgot something. Submit. Right, so always I want to make sure, right, if I'm not in the production environment, because in the production environment, everything needs to get turned off. Everything needs to get turned off. I think a better idea, right, if I'm in app module, I think I have a better idea, right? Oh, I kind of don't have access to the automation service like this. Kind of have access to it maybe in the constructor, but I'll probably just do it in the constructor here, right? So I always think of constructor as bad practices, but it is what it is. So basically what I want to go ahead and do in my environment, I'm going to take this logic from the environment. .dev. Right, and I kind of want to replace this with a predicate here. So I kind of want to use the same logic going on here. But I want to be careful, right? So like these functions I need, right? These functions I kind of need, right? There's just some functionality here, right? So all automation, right, should be going on here. So I want to rename. So basically I'm going to traverse class. All automation. This. Right, so ultimately what I want so I'm just traversing through. So this is my function basically, right? So these, I know I'm using them in the application, right? So those are like the only two I want to go ahead and protect. So, but what I could essentially do is that I would just provide these objects. So I kind of want to do everything at once here. So I kind of want to see how this works. So I basically want to say if the value, I believe, like key value, and so many errors. I think it closes. That's why. All right. Just want this to be an empty function. So let's kind of see what happens. Right. So I don't think it's working. So let's try to see how this traverses my automation service here. Okay, this is kind of scary. It looks like it's not only going through my automation, but it's kind of going through additional things. I don't know what this is binded to. So let's see what this is in the term of constructor. And then we might have to use a function instead of arrow function. So yeah, I'm saying automate service, but it's coming up with all these additional this. Right, so I kind of yes, I see my utility service, but it really shouldn't be going into the utility service now. So maybe just maybe, I gotta just provide all the appropriate values here, right? Because I really don't want it to go into places I don't want it to. So let's try to see if it's just an object. All right, so let me try to see object dot values this for each val. I want to say two things. Say console.log val, and then console.log val object. So yeah, that looks true. Yeah, everything's really it's the instance of object. Right, so I have a function. Right, so a function. So basically, alright, so right, last left off. Right, so I want to check if an object is a property. I don't want to know if it's not a function, right? So one thing I do know is classes are not instances of functions. Objects aren't instances of functions, right? So classes are instances of functions in JavaScript, right? So if that's going to be the case, then so false, false, true, right? So I'm kind of getting some values here. Right, so it's basically saying that's a function. So so I got utility service back, fill out for, right? So utility service is one thing I don't want back. Um, so let's see if it's a type. Okay, so I'll still get in the utility service. If a value is an object, is object, but not a class. Here, JavaScript's object. Okay, so it says val.constructor dot name object. Let's see what we get now. Probably get some undefined. Right, so I think I got rid of the utility service as well. So I think I'm getting 4 objects. All right, so that's interesting, right? If it's a pure object, right, you want to use its constructor name. Right, so that's really interesting. Script. Check if a value is a pure object. I'm going to check that as constructor. JS, right? Value that constructor that name. It's really nice. So basically, for each of these, I want to turn all of them now it's a function. So basically, what I'm trying to do now, is that instead of for production using the bad practice, trying to remember every time if I'm setting environment production, I just want to basically go in and have this done once. Right. So now I go say this dot traverse class. Right, so this is still running. So you get two 2000, two 2000. Yeah, so I don't want I don't care that this is an object. Get rid of the else statement. Okay. Looks like I got some sort of error. There it thinks. So maybe I don't need to push the stack. I think something, yeah, I think something happened. I actually had two things open. All right, so this is still clicking. And I'm still getting those values back. It's actually very, very important. I think it's happening, but let me see if the value is instance of a function. The basis of function. Because sometimes arrow functions aren't really functions, right? They're just objects. Right, so it sees that it's a function. Right, let's not replace it instead. Let's try to get this to work here. Not too sure if the values get replaced. So my value's still there. But alright, so seeing my value here. Alright, so I'm not too sure if it's working in my favor or not. Save constructor. Make this an arrow function, try to get this to cooperate. Cannot find name constructor. Alright, so constructor ever the arrow function? No, I think it's reserved. Let's see what I do here. And maybe the constructor needs to go at the end of this object. Looks like it still continues to fire. Should I see what's going on with this logic? Alright, so I'm thinking I need to create an object of such, right? Because I think what it is, this is ending up being a value. So I think I have to create such an object. And not to pass it, this new value in. So for sure, I sure know. Try to make some predicate someday. This, I do know that my predicate is whatever going on in this else block. Better yet, my predicate is what's going on in this if statement. So stack. Yeah, so that's good. It's a function. So I don't think. So it has to be a key is equal. And then right, so right, I said equal to a value all in what if I don't get the object back. Right. So this logic, let's hold on to it. All right, simple enough. Turn. All right, so object values that filter. Let's say object entries. Let key comma val entry. Alright, so I get my entries. I'm gonna do a little object oriented. Yeah, arrays equals salt. That should work as intended. And then ultimately, I want to put this in a function. Net all this code in that function so I can get it unit tested later. This dodge. Alright, so put this constructor back at the top. Alright, that should want to work. Ah. Let's see what's going on here. Or if this is even getting called. Alright, so there's that. Event service. Alright, so I know I'm passing over my results. Key value. Let's see what these entries look like. Right. Right. So right. And I think this is what I was being told earlier. Right, because these functions could behave as object. Right, because I think I have some arrow functions here. Right, so every time I have an arrow function, right, it gets treated as an object. So let's update this logic like so. And I don't want to touch this yet. Don't want to just break things. Good. Right, and now nothing fires. Right, so that's how I deal with that. I'm really thinking about it, right? But now, if environment dot production, if bang environment dot production, turn. Very good. All right, so that's good, right? So now on production, when this goes to production, then it's gonna go ahead and know up all the automation for me, right? So instead of writing that stuff out every time, all you need to do it once, right here in this function. Better. So I want to see. So now I don't need this anymore. So if I have, if it's in the production environment, if I'm running the development environment, continue forward. Right now that takes care of that. All right, so I'll just I think I'll pause it and then I'm going to continue. Let's try and make that a session. All right, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, reach out to me in the comment section for any help, tips, and suggestions.